It all began on a rainy evening. Alina found an old wooden box in her grandmother's attic. Inside, wrapped in faded cloth, was a yellowed letter sealed with wax. Her hands trembled as she broke the seal. But what was written inside would change everything. At the bottom of the box, a folded piece of paper revealed itself a map with strange markings. Alina's eyes widened. The place was real. But someone else had once tried to find it and had never returned. Suddenly, Alina noticed something scribbled in red ink at the edge of the map. "Do not trust anyone." She shivered. Who had written this warning? And why was it left behind for her to find? Intermission. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Golden Storytime. The journey is about to get even more mysterious. With the map clutched tightly, Alina set out the next morning. She followed winding paths, crossed rivers, and reached the edge of a forgotten forest. The deeper she went, the more she felt someone was following her. Every step echoed in silence. Behind the trees, a figure seemed to appear and vanish. Alina's courage wavered, but she pressed on. Finally, she reached a stone archway hidden under thick vines. The entrance to the secret place was real. Inside, Alina discovered a chest filled with letters, photographs, and documents her family's lost history. The inheritance wasn't gold or jewels, but knowledge and truth. Tears filled her eyes as she realized the greatest treasure was her family's forgotten story, and now it was hers to share. It all began on a rainy evening, the kind of rain that taps at the window pane like a secret code. I was up in my grandmother's attic, a place that always smelled of old books and forgotten memories. That's where I found it. Tucked away under a pile of moth-eaten quilts was an old wooden box, dark and heavy. My heart started to beat a little faster as I pried it open. Inside, wrapped in a faded silk cloth, was a yellowed letter sealed with wax. My hands trembled as I broke the seal. The letter was from a name I'd never heard before, a man named Thomas, and it was addressed to my grandmother. He wrote about a promise she made, a secret she was supposed to keep forever, a secret about my family's true origins. What could she have been hiding? As I read on the elegant cursive script painted a picture of a world I never knew existed. Thomas wrote of a hidden fortune, not of gold or jewels, but of something far more valuable. He mentioned a legacy tied to a specific location, a place he called the Whispering Cove. He pleaded with my grandmother to protect it, to ensure it was never found by the wrong people. The letter was dated just days before my grandfather supposedly died in a factory accident. But Thomas's words hinted at something else, something far more sinister. He wrote, "Eleanor, if you are reading this, it means they found me. Do not believe what they say. Your husband's death was no accident." A cold shiver ran down my spine. My grandfather murdered? Who were they? And what was this legacy he was so desperate to protect? The letter gave no more clues, just a small, hand-drawn map tucked into the fold. It was a map of our small coastal town, but with a strange symbol marked over a place I didn't recognize. The Whispering Cove. I had to find it. I had to know the truth about my grandfather, and about the secret my grandmother took to her grave. The next morning, I took the map and drove towards the coastline shown. The rain had stopped, but the sky was a blanket of moody gray. The map led me to a part of the shore I'd never explored, a rugged, isolated stretch of cliffs. After hours of searching, I found it a narrow opening in the rock face, almost completely hidden by overgrown ivy. This had to be the Whispering Cove. As I squeezed through the opening, the air grew cold and smelled of salt and damp earth. The cave opened up into a small, dark chamber. In the center there was another wooden chest, much larger and more ornate than the one from the attic. It wasn't locked. With my heart pounding in my chest, I slowly lifted the heavy lid. What I saw inside made me gasp. It wasn't treasure, not in the way you'd think. It was filled with dozens of leather-bound journals. I picked one up. It was my grandfather's handwriting. He hadn't died. He had been documenting his entire life, in hiding. The first entry I read was dated a week after his supposed death. It began with the words, "They think I am gone, but I am still here. I will protect the legacy, even if it costs me everything." What was this legacy? And who was he hiding from? I spent the entire day in that cave, devouring my grandfather's journals. He detailed a secret society his family had been part of for generations, a group of inventors and scientists dedicated to creating technology that could change the world. Technology they believed humanity wasn't ready for. The legacy wasn't money. It was their collected works. Blueprints for inventions that could provide free energy, cure diseases, and so much more. But a rival faction within the society, a group that wanted to weaponize the technology for profit and power, had hunted them down. They were the they from Thomas's letter. My grandfather had faked his own death to protect the knowledge in his family, especially my grandmother and my mother, who was just a baby at the time. He lived in secret, always watching over them from a distance. The journals were his life's work, his testament, and his warning. He wrote about a failsafe, a way to release the information to the world if the rival faction ever got too close to finding it. He also wrote about a guardian, someone he trusted to help him. That guardian was Thomas, and they had a plan. The final journal entry was chilling. My grandfather wrote that he feared he'd been discovered. He'd activated the failsafe protocol, a complex series of events that would be triggered by a specific action. He wrote, "Eleanor, my love, if you have found this, it means I have failed, but you have not. The key is not in what I've hidden, but in what I gave you. The locket I gave you on our anniversary. It's the final piece." The locket. My grandmother wore that locket every single day of her life. After she passed, my mom gave it to me. I've been wearing it this entire time. I quickly unclasped it from my neck. It was a simple silver heart, something I'd always thought was just a sentimental piece of jewelry. I examined it closely, running my thumb over the surface. I felt a tiny, almost imperceptible click. A small seam had appeared along the side. With trembling fingers, I twisted it open. It wasn't a picture of my grandfather inside. It was a tiny, intricately folded piece of paper with a series of numbers and a single web address. The decision was now mine. Do I unleash this world-changing technology, or do I keep the secret my family died to protect? What would you do? Before I reveal what I decided, I just want to say thank you for coming on this journey with me. This story, my family's story, has been locked away for far too long, and sharing it with you all means the world. If you've been captivated by this mystery, please hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Ring that bell because the next part of this story is something you won't want to miss. Your support helps me continue to uncover and share these incredible truths. Now, back to the cave. With the code in my hand, I knew I couldn't make this decision alone. My grandfather's journals spoke of a network, the remnants of the original society, still operating in the shadows. The web address was my way to contact them. I typed it into my phone's browser, and a simple, secure login page appeared. I entered the numeric code from the locket. Instantly, a message popped up. "Welcome, Guardian. We have been waiting." It was a protected forum, a digital meeting place for the descendants of the original society. I spent the next few hours communicating with them, sharing my grandfather's story and the discovery of the journals. They were scattered across the globe, each protecting a small piece of the legacy. They had been waiting for a sign, for the heir of the last great leader to emerge. They confirmed my grandfather's fears. The rival faction, now a powerful global corporation, was closer than ever to consolidating all the lost technology. They had been tracking my family for years, waiting for someone to lead them to the rest of the legacy. Finding the cave, I had inadvertently led them right to it. A message came through from the forum's administrator. They know you are there. They are coming for the journals. You must not let them fall into their hands. We have a plan, but you need to act now. My blood ran cold. Looking at the cave entrance, I could see the faint flicker of flashlights in the distance. They were here. I didn't have time to move all the journals. I had to make a choice. My grandfather's words echoed in my mind. The key is not in what I've hidden, but in what I gave you. The legacy wasn't just the blueprints. It was the spirit of invention, the drive to create a better world. The journals were the past, but I was the future. I grabbed the first journal, the one my grandfather wrote right after faking his death, and the locket. I then sent a message back to the forum. I have what matters most. The rest is a trap. The plan they sent me was risky, but it was our only shot. I took a deep breath, and as the footsteps grew louder just outside the cave, I initiated the final part of my grandfather's failsafe. The plan was brilliant in its simplicity. My grandfather had lined the cave with a network of small, incendiary devices designed not to explode, but to create an intense, targeted fire that would turn paper to ash in seconds. The trigger was a sequence I typed into the web forum on my phone. As the first figures appeared at the cave's entrance, silhouetted against the dimming light, I pressed enter. A series of soft clicks echoed around me, followed by a whoosh of heat. The journals, the life's work of generations, went up in a brilliant, smokeless flame. The men in suits rushed in, but they were too late. All they found was an empty chest and the smoldering remains of their prize. They looked at me, their faces contorted with rage, but they couldn't do anything. They had no proof. The legacy was gone, or so they thought. As they escorted me out, I clutched the single journal I had saved, hidden inside my jacket. They had the ashes, but I had the beginning of the story. I had the proof of my grandfather's sacrifice, and thanks to the locket, I had the connection to his network. In the end, the truth was revealed, but not in the way I expected. The legacy wasn't just technology, it was a promise to fight for a better future. By destroying the journals, we didn't lose the knowledge. The network my grandfather built had backups of everything, digitized and decentralized, impossible for any single group to control. The filesafe wasn't to release the information, but to protect it by making it seem like it was destroyed. Now, working with the society, we are slowly and ethically introducing these advancements to the world, not for profit, but for progress. My grandfather didn't die in vain. He became a ghost to protect the future, and my grandmother kept his secret to protect her family. It was a story of sacrifice, of a love so strong it could defy even death itself. I finally understood. The real treasure wasn't in a box. It was the courage and hope they passed down to me. And now, it's my turn to be a guardian. Thank you so much for watching and for being a part of this incredible discovery. This journey has changed my life, and sharing it with you has been a privilege. If this story moved you, please give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more stories from the past that shape our future. Your support means everything. Until next time, keep searching for the truth.